One question I really wanted answered when I was thinking about switching over to the GH5 is how is it practically to vlog with the GH5? Now, as everyone who's subscribed to this channel for any period of time knows, I have been using the Canon M50 since April 21st, 2017 to do weekly vlogs. By the way, look at the van that we got. ...2018 Ford Transit medium roof. And we're actually gonna get a wheelchair lift in the back here for my special needs daughter. This is gonna be so nice. Now, the biggest difference between vlogging with the GH5 and vlogging with the M50 is the autofocus. And I've heard some stuff about the GH5 autofocus that has gotten so much better and is actually usable. And I have tried like all the different tips that I've found on YouTube for getting the GH5 autofocus to work better, and I have not found any way that looks anywhere close to as good as the M50. We just turned on the AC on January 24th. Like, I watch a lot of Canadian YouTubers and they're talking about it being like -11, and I'm like, I don't even understand that. To anyone who's wondering whether or not you can be impulsive when you have 5 children, yes, you can be.
Look, there's a seagull right there, walking. I thought it was great.
Another big difference vlogging with the GH5 and not the M50 is that the GH5 with the battery grip and 2 batteries in it is way heavier and way bigger. It's just a massive setup compared to the little M50. And like with the M50, people were always thinking that I had a wider lens than I actually had because I was able to hold the camera out. I had it at arm's length, and then I had it extended even farther out with the GorillaPod. But when I try to do that with the GH5, I mean, I'm sure I could get used to it, but it's just way heavier of a setup. And since I've been manually focusing all of my videos, I want to keep it close enough that I can both see the screen to punch in, and then also close enough that I can reach the lens so that I can adjust it. I'm gonna unload the van real quick, and then I'll talk about my first impressions after vlogging with this camera. Okay, I wanted to give you my first impressions of what I'm actually thinking about with the GH5, because something that I've learned very quickly using it for the last 3 vlogs, kind of on and off with the M50, is that I cannot do the same style of vlogging that I have been doing with this camera because of that autofocus. And going back and looking at my earlier vlogs, I realized just how much I rely on autofocus. And so as I continue to use the GH5 for vlogging, I can't just do all of the same things. I have to change things up because I don't have reliable autofocus, because the form factor is bigger and the camera is just so much more complex that going in, changing settings is a huge hassle in comparison to the M50. Just first impressions is that if you're thinking about upgrading from the M50 to the GH5, and I kind of already knew this, but it's really been drove home since I've had one, is that the GH5 is not really an M50 replacement. It can't do what the M50 does. Like, I'm not saying it does a bad, you cannot do what you do with the M50 with the GH5 because of the lack of autofocus. And that is a big deal. If you love your M50 and just want an upgrade to an M50, something like an EOS R or a Sony, something like that is going to be, you're going to be a lot happier with this. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about why I decided to go with the GH5 because I had the opportunity to buy an EOS R, and I decided to go with this camera. I really think that this camera is going to do things for me that something like an EOS R or something like an A7 III just wouldn't have done. See, the GH5 is still very unique in that it is the only camera within its price range that comes close to the specs that it has. I always want to learn with the videos that I'm making. I want to learn new things about bitrate, about bit depth, about what does it actually feel like to edit 10-bit 422. What's the difference between 4K 8-bit 420 and 1080p 10-bit 422? I don't actually experientially know. I still don't know because, well, I don't have a fast enough computer that can actually process it. I'm right now just using the 1080p at 24 megabits a second. But this camera provides to me the opportunity to learn, to not just rely on large sensor, wide angles, shallow depth of field. It's so much more that I have to learn, and it's really what I'm looking forward to. I can learn everything that I want to on this camera. What it's like to edit 10-bit 4K, what it's like to use 1080p 120. What's it like to have to use manual focus? And then having stuff like anamorphic modes and LUTs and all of these things that I have zero experience, even being able to upgrade to Vlog and get practice with a HDR workflow. There's so much about the GH5 that I want to learn, and that's the reason that I got it. But that all being said, what this video was actually named for, of like first impressions of vlogging with this camera, is that if I'm just vlogging, like if I'm not gonna be trying to use the camera to more of its full potential, I'm just gonna be shooting at 1080p, 24 frames per second, walking around, then I probably will be using my M50, because it's smaller, it's lighter, it's less obtrusive, it's easier to use. And really, times like today, when I was out with my family, the M50 is a camera that's much better suited. And if my intention was to just stick with vlogging, and if your intention is to just stick with vlogging, the kind of thing that the M50 is so good at, the GH5 is not for you. The GH5 is a camera for filmmakers. It's not really a camera for vlogging. Whereas it can do vlogging decently well, the M50 still has an edge over it when it comes to that. And before I go ahead and turn off these lights, if you like this video, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video, which I have a lot of videos I am very excited about gear, about just mindset things, and about technique. And so if you're interested in any of those topics, subscribe. Like, we got a lot coming.